Yeah, feel good?
How do you feel?
I'm good.
Okay, so we can continue with the list.
I'm used to this by now.
Because there are a few I want to get through here before we get to your dad.
Yeah.
And can we get right into
Let's
number
get into
6?
It. Number 6.
Number 6 on the Phil Simms top 40 quarterback countdown is.
Did he even notice, do you think?
What?
Did he notice?
What?
Did you guys notice?
What happened?
Say it. What list is this again?
Oh, the Chris.
Phil might have his own list. Fuck. But Phil's list, okay?
Yeah.
This is my podcast, and we're going to mine, okay? All right, so number 6 on the Chris Simms list. I don't know what Phil's
I don't know what he would
have. He didn't make a list.
But he's agreed with you.
He has agreed with me for the most part. Number 6 is Big Ben Roethlisberger on my top 40 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Now, Big Ben, gosh, I mean, last year was a phenomenal year for Ben Roethlisberger, and proved to me that people always want to say Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, they help out. Okay, Le'Veon Bell wasn't there last year. The run game sucked last year in Pittsburgh. 31st run team in football. So everything was on Big Ben on a weekly basis. James Conner did some good things. We know that. But teams weren't playing the Pittsburgh Steelers going, oh, gosh, we got to stop the running back. And it was no, we got to stop Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and some of the plays that they make. And for me, with Big Ben, I think the biggest thing to start out with is, yes, great size, awesome, thrower of the football, and awesome quarterback under pressure. He's still one of the best down the field throwers in the sport. And I put a lot of into that, definitely, because, hey, explosive plays are the number 2 stat in a football game as far as determining who wins the game. Is turnover margin. The next thing that determines it is 20-plus yard plays that happen in a game. And that, a lot of the times, is predicated through Big Ben making big plays in the pass game. And, again, you can like Big Ben wherever or dislike him. Hey, Big Ben, he looks like he's had a lot of jerk moments off the field, in the locker room, everything like that. But when you talk about on the field and his ability to make game-changing plays and do special things, and you go back and look at the highlights. Listen, Antonio Brown isn't as wide open as we'd all like to think and remember all the time. Go look at Big Ben's highlights. Man, every throw is on the screws. Coverage is pretty good. Perfect throw, perfect spot. He's a guy that can make any system work. And yeah, I just look at him with his decision-making and everything. It's still at a very high level. Are there a few moments, like the Denver Broncos game, he throws the interception in the end zone, where you go, what the hell is that? Yes, definitely. I'm not, excusing him from that. But
that was Antonio Brown's fault.
Hey, that's what he says. But there is a lot of things that, sometimes you're going to make a bonehead play or two, again, when you're a quarterback that has to play the way Ben Roethlisberger does, which is basically carry the offense. It's, hey, Ben, drop back. We need you to drop back 40, 45 times. And we need you to make game-changing type plays with your arm and your decisions and all of that. And that's where I look at Big Ben and just go, man, it's still at a really special level. And I know people are out there going to go, oh, well, they didn't make the playoffs. Okay, they didn't make the playoffs. It wasn't because of Big Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, what he did. What was he?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah,
so
go ahead through it.
This was last year. He led the league in attempts. It was a career high. Led the league in completions. They leaned on him a ton.
More than ever, maybe.
Yards. He led the league in yards, career high. Did lead the league in yards per game and interceptions. He had 34 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. But this is what jumped out to me.
Yeah.
Is that last year he had the second lowest career sack percentage of his career.
Yes,
so he took fewer, even though he threw a ton more.
Right.
He took a fewer percentage sacks less than in previous years. So.
Yep. He doesn't hold on to it all. He's got a great offensive line.
Yeah.
They're one of the best pass-protecting O-lines in football, so that has to be noted. And back in the old days of Big Ben, he would take sacks because he was always trying to extend the play and make magic happen. And he made magic happen a lot. But within that, too, sometimes you'd go, oh, man, throw it away. Don't take the 9-yard sack. Damn. Oh, and he used to do that. Now he has found a fine line of making magic happen and when to play the quarterback position to its truest form. Now, hey, the Broncos game we talked about, he screwed that up at the end, right? There was also some other things earlier in the game where I could point to and go, man, the Steelers in general screwed that game up. It wasn't Big Ben's fault.
Sure.
Hey, the Chargers game, okay, they lose 33-30 at home. I'm talking about some losses that might have dictate what happened in the end, so people who go, well, but he didn't make the playoffs. Okay, the Chargers game, he did throw a pick, okay, but then, man, the Steelers dominated the football game. I mean, we got to remember the Chargers returned a punt. the Steelers intercepted a pass in the end zone, and two of them collided into each other, and the ball popped in the air, and Tyrell Williams caught it for a touchdown. I mean, there's a little bit of a fluky stuff there, too, but I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, they didn't win that one because Ben Roethlisberger. Sure. No, I mean, he put them in position to win that football game. Okay, so then you go into some other losses later in the year, right? I just want to make sure I got him on. The Raiders game, he was playing really good. It's an ugly loss. Remember, he got hurt. He had to come out of the game for an extended period of time. That really put them in a tough spot.
And I think that's the thing, too, that he might get a little bit of a bad rap is his injury history. As people think he's always injured. And he will miss a game, one game a year. But I looked it up. Over the last 6 seasons, he has missed a total of 7 games.
Yes.
1 over the last 2 years combined.
Yeah.
So even though he is dinged up and in a walking boot every once in a while, he usually play.
He usually
15
plays
of the 16 games.
And this is another talking point, too, okay? This is just about quarterback play in general. Like, guys like Big Ben Roethlisberger, okay, when those years where he did get banged up because, people like in the late, 2008, 2009, 2010, the Pittsburgh offensive lines were like the worst in football. They were horrible.
Sure.
And they went to 2 Super Bowls. And it was because of Big Ben and his ability to hang in there and make plays and do things like that. But guys that have to play that style of football are more apt to getting hurt. And I think that's something that, we need to realize as fans at times. When you're having to play a style of football that's a little, let's just say, more dangerous, right? Like Ben Roethlisberger back in the old days, or maybe like a Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers does. When your team is, man, you need to make the plays all the time, and you got to do it, and we can't win the game, you're going to compromise yourself a little bit in times and try to make plays, or there's chaos around you and you try to extend the play because you go, damn, I have to make the play. We're not that good. And there it's going to lead you into some vulnerable positions where a good quarterback on a team that's got a great support system around him and everything's good, when things get chaotic around him, he can just go, I'll just take the sack and get down because we're good, and the next down we can convert. Yeah. And I know my coach will call a good play and we'll execute and get a, the great quarterbacks that are stuck on these crappy teams, they have to kind of go above and beyond and kind of push the envelope about like what's actually smart at times. And I think that's why you can see some of those guys get banged up in those conversations.
Make more dangerous plays. They don't play the Raiders next year, so they don't get to get a reunion with Antonio Brown. They do play the Jets, and so Le'Veon Bell will be on the sideline with the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. He picked number 7 because John Elway was his idol.
Ooh.
That's why I picked number 7.
Okay,
he looked up to John Elway.
Right.
So I kind of looked it up. Who do you think has had the better career between John Elway and Ben Roethlisberger? When you first think about it, you think, okay, Elway, obviously. He won those 2 Super Bowls at the end to put the cherry on top. I don't know.
It's closer than you think,
It
right?
is. Passing yards, Big Ben 6th all-time, Elway 9th. Touchdowns, Ben 7th all-time, Elway 11th.
Okay.
Big Ben has fewer interceptions, 190 to Elway's 226.
Oh, right.
If you want to go just by touchdowns per pass attempt, because they are throwing more now.
Yeah.
Touchdowns per pass attempt, Ben 5%, Elway 4%, so he throws at a higher rate.
Right.
Interceptions, Ben threw fewer interceptions, 2.7% of the time, Elway 3.1% of the time. They both made the playoffs 10 times. They both have won 2 Super Bowls.
Wow, that's pretty unbelievable when you put it next to each other like that.
Right.
Well, it's a thing that on Pro Football Talk with Mike a lot, I always argue that Big Ben, career-wise, I think, is a lot better and needs to be talked about in more of a glowing fashion than he is. And I think because of the off-the-field stuff we mentioned, and some of the things he said in the locker room and things like that, he gets knocked down because of that. But if we just try to keep it between the white lines, right, and not let all those other things influence you, I mean, it's a special career. For me, it's a borderline top 10 in the NFL history career. I mean, that's where it's around.
You put him head-to-head with Elway, and he comes out slightly ahead.
I'm going to say Elway is still better. Okay. I value Elway as one of the greatest talents to ever play.
I was surprised at how close it was.
I hear you. And, again, this is a conversation, too. Maybe we need to ask Dad, or maybe we get another old quarterback that's, on the pod at some point, too. Of course, the game was different. And you've heard my dad sometimes mention, I mean, the coaches used to say to him, if you don't throw 1 or 2 interceptions, then you're not being aggressive enough.
Sure.
And that's the way it was around the NFL.
Got it.
It was be aggressive, throw the ball. So interceptions were not as taboo as they are now. But the other thing, too, I would be interested to hear, from a John Elway, or maybe I'll ask Dan Marino or Jim Kelly or my father, how many of the yards and touchdowns are due to the time of we are in, like, right now in the NFL. I would love to hear that from one of those guys. Like, what would Dan Marino say? Would he go, I think you add 20,000 yards on to all these guys playing right now? What is it?
Dan would say he'd throw for 400 yards a game, probably.
Oh, I mean, I think he would. He would go, yeah, exactly right. I would wonder what he would think, like, what, the number is that Tom Brady or Peyton Manning got at the end of their careers just from playing in this era, I think would be an interesting conversation.
And one last thing real quick. You did knock down Carson Wentz a little bit for leadership. It was a question mark.
Sure.
How about Big Ben's leadership?
Yeah, but Ben's leadership is certainly in question. I mean, about how he handles the locker room, it's not beautiful. No, it's not. I can't say a lot of glowing things about him, but I think at the end of the day, too, hey, like you talked about, he's available, he's on the field, and he does lead them in a lot of big moments to win football games, okay? And there is that aspect of it as well. So, yes, is there something he can improve? Being a better teammate, being a better leader, definitely with that, and maybe just limit a little bit of those, like we said, bonehead interception mistakes that he makes. Definitely. I got no defense for that. That is certainly a flaw of his game. But, man, even at the end of the year, we talked about the Raiders game. They lost it. I mean, he was 25 for 29 for 282 and 2 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
The next week, they played they were screwed in a game against the New Orleans Saints, where 2 fourth-down penalty pass interferences that were not pass interference calls were given to the Saints. One for a touchdown, but you're going to blame Big Ben for going 33 of 50 for 380 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, and we're going to sit here and go, oh, Big Ben, he's not a winner. He didn't win. There's just more to it than that.
They relied on him a lot, and he stepped up. And he stepped up. So.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.